Go ahead, Dylan.
Well, going into tonight's game, Vegas seems to be playing a game called The Elimination is Right, because they're as close to being mathematically eliminated as possible without actually going over currently. But whether they win or lose tonight, I'd like to talk about them a little bit. You've talked about the Leonard situation and described it as being an evolving one. Are you able to tell us the latest of what's going on with Robin Leonard?
Well, the thing is, I mean, we'll see what happens tonight. I still think it's evolving because, look, Kelly McCrimmon hasn't talked yet.
Yeah.
The other players haven't really said much. Robin Leonard hasn't talked publicly yet. And all we're getting is cryptic comments out of Peter DeBoer saying, there's a lot of guys playing hurt.
Right.
So I think that what we're looking at here, Dylan, is when things get clarified on Vegas's season, and as you said, it could happen tonight, then I think we're going to get a lot more clarity. Like again, last night, like I was up, I was watching their game. When it was over, I got a note from the person who I think, a person who I trust and is very connected to this. And he said, still evolving. Like that's what he said, still evolving. And so like, I'm very comfortable in everything I've reported. I think it's the other reporting in the aftermath has shown that it's generally been pretty accurate. Yeah. That Leonard informed them on Thursday night that he was going to have surgery, and there were a lot of conversations about what that was going to mean in the days after. But I still don't think we know everything yet. And this is combustible, and I think it could potentially get worse before it gets better. Yeah. And the number one question that I think a lot of us have is, Robin Leonard's got 3 years left under contract with Vegas. How is this? Yeah. How is this all going to work? Like, did you guys watch the Vegas game last night? Did you guys watch it?
I did.
Yeah. So at the end of the game, did you see all those Vegas guys go to Logan Thompson and?
Yeah.
Like he looked like he was near. Like he looked crushed.
Yeah. Well, the same thing against San Jose as well.
Yeah.
They rallied. Yeah. After the shootout loss against San Jose. Yeah.
And like to me, that's a picture saying a lot of words. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like, we're not all in there. We don't know everything, but I have a feeling there's still going to be a lot that's going to come out of all of this, and it's not all going to be pretty.
No, it's not. And Elliotte, that's sort of the micro picture. I wanted to talk a bit about the macro picture in terms of, like, this is remarkable to me. The Vegas transformation is remarkable to me. I mean, as quickly as they went from being the misfits to being a Stanley Cup contender, well, not quite as quickly, but in a very short period of time, they're wearing the black hat now. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who want to see this organization fail. I talked to an agent who said, and whether it's fair or not, said that, Kelly McCrimmon's problem is he still thinks he's dealing with junior hockey players and that he can treat them a certain way and sort of dispose of them the way he sees fit or whatever. But there's something wrong there, Elliotte. There's something fundamentally wrong in Las Vegas. They're in salary cap hell. They're not going to make the playoffs. And I actually talked to Jeff Merrick about this a couple of weeks ago, and I attribute a lot of it to chasing the shiny new toy, and they've got to stop doing that. Like, they've just got to stop. Every free agent that's out there, every guy that's out there for trade, they've got to get some team chemistry. They've got to get a lineup that's secure and, feels like it's playing for one another. I just feel like it's a mess there right now.
Well, there's no question that it's a mess right now. I mean, I don't think there's any debate about that. I think that there's a couple of things here. Number one, no expansion team is supposed to be as successful as Vegas has been.
Right.
And you remember the way they used that expansion draft against the other teams. Mm-hmm. And they could. And they used it very smartly. They took real advantage of some teams. And, well, I mean, you're competing to win the Stanley Cup. On some level, you have to do that. And, it created a lot of hard feelings. And I think a lot of this goes back to the expansion draft.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because some people are saying, "Oh, you guys hammered us really good there, huh?" Well, good on you. Yeah. I absolutely feel that some of this goes back to that. I think another one that, like, teams make tough decisions all the time or hard. Like, remember St. Louis and Patrick Berglund? He was a day late getting his no trade in, and they shipped him to Buffalo.
Right.
Like these things do happen. But I'll tell you this, Ken. I think you're right in the sense that there's been a lot of churn on players there. And I remember when the rumors were going that they were about to sign Pietrangelo, you could see that they were going to have to do something. And that weekend, because the news started to break on a Friday, and if I remember correctly, didn't sign till a Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
I couldn't believe the amount of texts I was getting from Vegas players or people connected to them saying, like, who's going? Mm-hmm. And I think that was a big one. Like, it was a lot more than normal. But, like, I do think another one, Ken, that has reverberated in hockey circles, I think, was Gerard Gallant. And, Gerard Gallant's a really popular guy. And, they had a verbal deal on an extension, and they made the coaching change. And I think there's a few people that really didn't like that. Yeah. So, every organization does, like, it's like life, right? Every work environment makes decisions that piss us off and that we don't think are right.
Right.
And so it's Vegas's, I think, going back to the expansion draft, because they used it so well on teams and made them look so good and other teams look bad. I think there are people who've looked at this and said it's just desserts. But I think all those other things you're saying are true too. The funny thing about it, though, guys, is that I've had a couple GMs say to me that, like, they like to push the salary cap limit too, and they're looking at what's happening with Vegas, and they're like, that's a warning for all of us.
Yeah,
now, I don't think, like, they hope it would never happen to them like this, but there are a few teams saying, there by the grace of God go I, because we would be in a similar disaster if we had all these kinds of injuries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My question is, just to follow up on that, is how common is it for players to reach out to you to get an idea of what's going on with management in a situation like that? Or is management more open with their players? Like, it just seems like bizarre that a player in the NHL with an agent and all that has to get their sources from the same insider that us schlubs do.
Dylan, I think that there's certain times where there's a lot of rumors fly around. It doesn't happen that often, but it happens. I would say it happens more around trade deadline and free agency than other times. Like, people will send me notes saying, what are you hearing? Or I'll report something and they'll say, well, we know there's always things that are reported and there's more under the surface. What else can you tell me? One situation is, I remember a few years ago when Kevin Shattenkirk was traded from St. Louis to Washington, there was a Washington player who texted me right away and said, I can't get any answers from the team. Am I in the deal? And, it turned out he wasn't. So I think it happens more around those times than it does normally.
Well, I mean, if I want information on what's going on in the NHL, Friedge is the guy I ask. If I want an acerbic comment, I'm probably the guy I ask.
I would say this. I think there's a lot of great reporting in the league right now. Like, I think the quality of reporting is as good as I've ever seen it in my time as a consumer or a professional. Yeah. I think whether you're interested in people who talk about rumors like I do, or people who break down the game, either X's and O's or statistically, like others do, I think the quality of reporting around the league is really good. And if you don't think it's that good, you're not looking. I really feel that way.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Elliotte. And I mean, the world has shrunk in so many ways, right? Like our world in terms of, the number of outlets, but you're absolutely right. There is some great reporting going on.